All right, so today, Table Talk. We're here with the Donald twins, Liz and Rebecca. And the twins are some of the few athletes who've actually been a part of sort of our post-collegiate elite programming, both at the SBTC and the GRP level. In 2010, am I remembering right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they won bronze at the U23 Worlds. So, I guess I was just kind of curious to, you've had a year at this as sort of GRP elite senior level now, and just kind of like what you saw as differences between the programs, and to a larger extent too, like just how Craftsbury's program has changed too, at that elite level kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main advantages of being here training year-round has been just you feel there's a bit more community. You get to know our teammates a lot more in depth, both on the rowing team but also on the ski team. I think it's really great having the collaboration between the Green Racing Project, both on the rowing side and also on the skiing side.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to to be training with our 14 or 13 other teammates, but it's also nice to sort of be able to sit down at lunch and say, wow, that was just a really tough morning, and have no idea what they did for a workout, but have them sit beside you and say, yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah.
And not have it done the same workout, but just be going through the same sort of training aspects like that. It definitely feels like a family of support systems and good racing and training partners.
And then just from the rowing side of things, it feels a little less, so much of the summer when we were here for SBTC, the Small Boat Training Center, was just crunch time with trials just 4 weeks away, and then Worlds. So being able to dive in and kind of accept the process of getting back into shape. And Liz and I both took a year off after graduating from college, so went and Liz was working in New York City and I was working in Boston, so worked for a little bit, didn't really train, but went to the gym, but nowhere near in shape that we would have liked to have been, and then heard about this full-time program, so then quit our jobs and came up here, and are so grateful that we did. But it definitely has been a process of getting back into shape and getting back up to racing speed. So in that sense, I couldn't imagine doing that any other place, with the ability to cross-train, especially in the winter.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting you brought that up. I was curious, like, what have you found? What was the easiest thing? Like, what came back the quickest after your year off?
I would definitely say our high-rate race pieces, this spring especially in Clemson, the really short, high speed, just cranking on it. We both just love racing, and I think that when put on the line, our fitness might not be there always, and our technique might not be where we want it to be, but we both are just like guns blazing, like love the competition, and whether it be just hanging with someone for 5 strokes or 20 or for 500 or a 2K, we're definitely hoping to just extend the length at which we can keep racing it up and keep having fun, like toying with whoever it is, whether it's our training partners or the boat next to us as we sit on the line.
Yeah, and what's been the biggest project then? Sort of the flip side of the coin. Like, what's like, oh my God, how could this take this long?
Definitely the longer pieces. Every Thursday we do a 4K stakes race in the morning, so it's the length of the Hosmer and then spin on a buoy and then turn around. And Liz and I have some work to do in that department, but it's really exciting, especially to see the progress. So from the fall, Liz turned to me one day and she's like, this is the fall of being last. And it was just something that was like, we were just acknowledging that this is where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to be able to this spring start seeing the speed coming back and like just improving daily. And granted, everyone we're training with is also improving, so it's keeping that all in check. But it definitely, we keep every year, we're like, oh, imagine next year at this time how we're going to feel and how exciting it's going to be able to look back and see the progress. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of
definitely the longer stuff.
Yeah,
it's definitely been
some more stuff.
It's nice having each other just because on those days, there was one day our coach had to go to this what was it, the 10th of a second to see who won. And he's like, what's up with this? You guys, it's a 4K race. We're starting at intervals, and we finish so closely together. So it is good, though, that we have each other because, especially in the fall when we were trying to get back into it, it's just sort of being able to commiserate with someone who has also taken the year off.
Yeah.
And knowing that, okay, we can do this. And remembering that, on the worst of days, training, we're still able to train, and the alternative is sitting at a desk or cooped up in some office building. And so it's definitely keeping it in perspective, and like Becky said, like enjoying the process because every day we're getting fitter and faster, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Cool. So this is the summer goal, sort of like that, projecting that arc, I guess. So Elite Nationals just wrapped up. Now, will you be going to, I know there's potentially a little bit of conflict time-wise between Henley and the last sort of selection regatta.
Yeah.
How does that shake out for you guys?
Yep, so we talked with our coach, Dan Rook, and he suggested that we just go to Canadian Henley, which we thought was a really great idea, just to get more racing experience. So there we'll have the opportunity to race the single, the double, champ events, potentially an quad perhaps. So just getting back into the racing, getting more racing strokes and races off, on our belt for this year. And then so we can hit the ground running NSR 1 next year and NSR 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be our goal.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that I think Elite Nationals definitely showed Becky and I that we are in, fitness aside, we are still out of racing shape.
Mm-hmm.
And having raced in college and then raced summers and being up here before under 23 Worlds, we just had experienced so many different scenarios and put together so many great pieces, whether it be collegiately or also up here, that we had so much to draw on when it came down to beating the Romanians by a 10th of a second for the bronze medal. So I think Elite Nationals losing by 3/100ths of a second, we know we can be on the other side of that and be better than what we put together. So it's just getting those experiences, remembering, okay, how do we push when someone's coming in? How do we push them off? Where do we make our moves? And figuring out in this we're new athletes. We're not the same athletes that we were when we were training here 3 summers ago. So it's figuring out, okay, who are we now? What makes us go? And what should our race plan be? How do we tackle this? And kind of just figuring out the new standard of who we are.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was just was thinking this while you were saying this, it almost sounds a little bit like a process, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's sort of, I'd be interested to hear, from the outside, it sounds a little bit of do you ever find yourself at odds with the competitive fire versus nuance of race plan?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one, there's sort of 2 things that I heard, at least one of your strengths, you're saying, we're going for it. Is there any conflict there ever, or not so much?
Interesting. I think in practice there is more so. If Coach Rook says, okay, we want these at race rehearsal, so it's accepting that we're not going all out for a 500-meter piece or a 2-minute piece. I think that's when we definitely struggle because we just want to be there's no reason why we shouldn't be pushing the envelope every piece.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be holding anything back. So I think that we definitely sometimes race rehearsal is sometimes harder for us to practice in practice, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But when it comes to racing, I think we both trust each other immensely, and we were actually playing around with our race plan a little bit at Elite Nationals, so it's exciting to see sort of if you change it up or, where you put your moves or how we think about it, what that does for the race plan and the end result. So.
But I think we're also constantly looking at okay, so where are we kind of falling off? So if it's at the 750 or if it's at 1250 in, it's all right, let's put something there that kind of re-energizes the piece.
And then remembering that in practice, every third quarter of every piece, whether that be a 2-minute piece or a 2K, we always want to be pushing that if that's where we're falling off. So it's it's been really a learning process. It's been exciting. It's exciting now, sort of, that we're seeing some speed come back, and exciting to think that it's only gonna get faster.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks.